I want to start with something that maybe doesn't have a lot to do with Donald Trump, or maybe it does, in regards to this mother in Minnesota. And you guys have been covering this story, who called a 5-year-old the N-word. And it seems as though, Ed, she's being rewarded almost $1 million in a GoFundMe page. What do you make of this story? And it seems like in Trump America, if you use the N-word and you show your racism publicly, somehow you get rewarded for that. What do you make of this?
Yeah, it's just crazy how we've seen it with immigrants, how the demonization of these people because they're not white has really taken hold. And it's like people are, yo, Trump's not racist, MAGA's not racist. But I mean, how else can you explain this woman raising all this money for basically being caught using the N-word? It just doesn't make any sense.
And why is it, Ed, that when so many MAGA Republicans, I'm just going to call them that, because in my opinion, if you've donated to this woman, you're probably a Donald Trump supporter. That's my assertion. Why is it that they want to talk about this kid who happens to be African-American who stabbed one of his classmates? We don't know whether he's guilty or not. He'll have his day in court. But then so many people are making the excuse about that, because he deserves a defense. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. And they try to correlate that to this. I don't understand that, Ed.
Yeah, and day in court, I don't know. Does that matter anymore? Like, do we give people days in court anymore, or is that just if you're part of MAGA, you get your day in court? Like, it's so funny to me because for 4 years we saw how MAGA and all the Trump supporters went after the federal government. Oh, the federal government, you can't trust them. Anybody they prosecute, you can't trust that they're actually prosecuting them for good reason. And suddenly 5 months later, it was less than 5 months later, that suddenly the federal government you don't even need due process because the federal government's right 100% of the time. And it's just the hypocrisy is just endless.
Yet so many of these MAGA Republicans call people on the left pedophiles. I'm just throwing that out there. That's all. Well, you tell me, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, and I know you're not, but the Epstein files have since not been released. I know that Pam Bondi wants to blame, the deep state and national security. What are your thoughts on this? Because again, we're both not conspiracy theorists here, but why do you think these files have not been released yet?
It's so hard to say. There's the group of people who are saying, oh, Trump's trying to hide something. And then there's a group of people who say, the client list just doesn't exist. And I think maybe it's somewhere in between. I don't think there's actually an Epstein client list that exists in tangible form. I don't think he kept a list of all the, pedophiles that were coming to his island. I doubt that actually happened. But also we do know that Trump's name is on a lot of these other lists, like the phone logs, like the plane logs. He's a close associate. He's partied with Epstein. He's had Epstein to Mar-a-Lago. He's met some of these women that Epstein raped at Mar-a-Lago. He's been accused of partaking in some of this stuff with Epstein at various locations. So I mean, is it just my imagination that Trump could be on this list? Absolutely not. He's actually on a lot of these lists, but I don't think there actually is a client list where, it lists all the people who, partook in these crimes. So
true, Ed, but correct me if I'm wrong. In the Maxwell trial, we learned that Donald Trump was on the flight log at least 7 times. So I think if one would tell you or me, oh, you guys don't know what you're talking about. Well, first of all, Epstein was caught on a recording saying that Donald Trump was one of his best friends. We know that he was on the flight log at least 7 times, yet so many of these MAGA Republicans call people on the left pedophiles. I'm just throwing that out there. That's all.
Well, I find it kind of ironic because so many of them say, oh, Bill Clinton's definitely guilty. And what evidence are they using of that? Witness testimony, witness accounts. And many of those same witnesses also say that they've seen Trump at Epstein Island, or they've seen Trump do this or that with Epstein. So if you're going to go after Clinton and not go after Trump for these alleged crimes, I think you're being a hypocrite.
Speaking of sex crimes, I wanted to bring up the Tate brothers because they were in Las Vegas last week. And, you have Dana White welcoming them with open arms. Welcome back to the States, boys. And then it's interesting because you have some MAGA characters, I guess I'll call Roger Stone a MAGA character, claiming that the Trump administration had something to do with bringing the Tate brothers back to the United States of America. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but what can you tell us about this? And do you feel like somebody within the Trump administration had something to do with the Tate brothers coming back to the United States?
Yeah, I do. I think that Richard Grenell went over there and he talked with the Romanian legal people over there and got them to basically allow the Tates to come to America. Now, I talked to Tristan Tate actually a couple days ago when I made a tweet about what Roger Stone said, where Roger Stone said Grenell basically got him freed to America, and Tristan claims that that's not possible because they were already free. But I don't think he's telling us everything. He acts like he has no idea why Roger Stone said this, although he admits that he's friends with Roger Stone and he's talked to Roger Stone. And he admits he knows who Robert Grenell is, although he claims, oh, I don't really know what he does. I'm not really buying it. I think Grenell did go over there to try and persuade the legal system to allow the Tates to come back to America. And I think that's what led to them coming back to America.
Agree with you. And don't you find it interesting and sad that a guy like a Dana White, listen, we know Dana White was seen on video smacking his wife, and then Dana White's the guy speaking at the Republican National Convention. But even a guy like a Dana White, why would you even in public say, welcome back to the States, boys, and shake their hand and give them a hug? These are extremely serious charges. And I tend to believe that they are going to be going to jail for a while, both of them. I don't care how much money they have. If you're Dana White, why would you do
I'm
that?
always willing to say you're innocent until you're proven guilty, because without
Right.
that, everybody could be guilty of a crime. But at the same time, there is, evidence of especially Andrew Tate saying, basically admitting to some of these alleged crimes. Maybe not in so many words, but if you listen to him speak, he's pretty much saying what he did. And whether you want to define that as sex trafficking or not, I guess that's up for a legal system to decide.